Hi guys, I'm Maria Drutska and I'm here to tell you the latest news of today regarding Russia's full-scale invasion in Ukraine. Today, as a result of a Russian attack on Chernihiv, 7 people were killed, 129 were injured, including 15 children. The strike hit the central square where the Polytechnic Institute and Drama Theatre are located. One of the victims of the occupiers' missile strike on Chernihiv was a 6-year-old girl who died in the hospital. This was announced by the Minister of Internal Affairs, Igor Klimenko. He also reported that the child had severe bleeding and the patrol officer was trying to apply tourniquet, but she died unfortunately in the hospital. And the girl's mother is also injured and is now in a very critical condition. Another 12-year-old girl urgently transported by an ambulance to Kiev in critical condition. So Russian troops on Saturday, August 19, struck the center of Chernihiv. It is likely that the enemy used a ballistic missile. The hit happened into the drama theater, causing a fire due to the explosive wave and damaging the building of the Chernihiv Regional State Administration as well. Also, in the city center, other buildings, shops, cafes were damaged. Nearby, there was a public transport stop, a regular bus stop for boarding and disembarking passengers, and unfortunately many victims were in this place. In the Chernihiv Drama Theatre, there was a drone exhibition when it was hit by a Russian missile. Many civilians were there at that moment. It was reported a few days ago that a drone exhibition would take place in Chernihiv on this day. They did not specify in advance where it would take place. They said that for security reasons, the address of the location will be announced 4 hours before the event. It is likely that the exhibition was the target and someone could pass on information about it to the Russians. But similar exhibitions without incidents took place in Kyiv, Lviv, Dnipro and Kharkiv before. And this time, the exact location was only notified to registered, verified participants a few hours before the event. So now the organizers of this event are working with the Security Service of Ukraine to provide all necessary data for an urgent investigation. At the same time, Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Hanna Malyar, commenting on today's Russian missile strike on a drone exhibition in the center of Chernihiv, noted that the Russians always target the most symbolic and vulnerable objects for their purposes. They do not just target civilian objects, but they look for those that are most symbolic or vulnerable to us. The Russians are tormented by everything successful that we have, and they have often launched missiles at those objects that had previously had very positive public information. And she also pointed out that occupiers know where each object is located even without publicity, but the emotional component is very important to them to hit as painful as possible. Also, according to Malyar, there were cases when events were held without public announcement and coverage, but there was still an attack exactly at the same time and place where this event were held. Well, what I can say, guys, all these comments that I've been reading now that's spreading in social media with accusation of treason, and we have very interesting Ukrainian word for zrada, which means that actions that government or partners not do in favor, we call it zrada. Or even about Ukraine being blamed itself, that no need for this exhibition and others. This is all self-delusion. All of this distracts us and you from the main thought and main point, that Russia is a terrorist state, that Russia is the one launching missiles and killing civilians, women, children, old people. And it's not the first time when they launch missiles on schools, hospitals, and the children's playground. And the different events, drone military events and other topics have been held before. And if Russia wants, they will find out everything anyway, because unfortunately there are still many traitors and collaborators in our country that are paid by Kremlin agents to sell information. So don't blame anyone but Russia, because Russia, the one who started this war, and it is Russia that strikes and wages a war that contradicts all international norms and rules of warfare. Another piece of news, and by the way, this happened in the morning before the Russian missile strikes on Chernihiv. The governor of the Novgorod region, Nikitin, reported that a drone of the Kiev regime carried out a terroristic attack on the Soltsy airfield in the Novgorod region. He said, "I'm sure that the actions of the criminal Kiev regime will not go unanswered." How terrible. Imagine a terrorist attack on a military airfield from which planes fly to bomb Ukraine. What terrorists we are! Poor little planes, just peacefully flying and launching missiles at women and children, like today, for example, on this holy day for Orthodox Christians, when people were taking to consecrate apples and pies to church, and they were just blown up. Anyway, sources confirm that after the drone attack on this military airfield in the Novgorod region, two supersonic Tu-22 M3 missiles carriers bombers were damaged, and after the strike on the airbase, several planes are being relocated to Olenia base. Do you see the difference at all? Ukraine strikes a military object of a country that is committing genocide against the Ukrainian people, an airbase from which they are actually launching missiles to kill us, and they called it a terrorist attack. And then they strike a place with civilians who are taking children in strollers for a walk in the park and going to church in the city center on a holiday. I mean, everyone understands everything, right? Right? Moving on, Denmark and Netherlands confirmed the permission from the US to transfer F-16s to Ukraine. At the same time, F-16 fighters will be able to defend Ukraine no earlier than the spring of 2024. And this was stated by the spokesman of the Ukrainian Air Force, Yuri Ignat. He said that it is already clear that we will not be able to defend Ukraine with F-16 planes during this fall and winter. At the same time, the Washington Post wrote a few days ago that we can expect the training of the first group of Ukrainian pilots to finish at least by the summer of 2024. Russia is increasingly using drones for strikes against Ukraine. As a result, our country also needs to ramp up appropriate countermeasures, for example, combat drones. And of course, we need to strengthen Ukraine's air defense, because after Russia's exit from the Black Sea Grain Initiative, the main targets have become the food port and logistics infrastructure in the southern part of Ukraine. So while the counteractions against complex aerial targets such as Ha-22 missiles or various types of ballistic missiles is more or less clear, which is further saturation of Ukrainian air defense with Western-style systems like Patriot, SAM-T, that can combat them, is required for increasing the percentage of destruction of other enemy aerial means of attack, for example, cruise missiles of various classes, air-to-ground aviation missiles, kamikaze drones. We need further saturation with short-range air defense systems. We need to focus on the direct protection of important objects, and with the heating season approaching, and it's going to be very soon, there will be again a need to protect energy infrastructure objects. To accomplish these tasks, short-range air defense systems may be the most effective. For example, Ukraine will receive 2 modern short-range air defense systems, Skynex, from Germany by the end of the year. This was announced by air defense systems manufacturer, the Rheinmetall Group. However, we need to work with our partners because we have a big country, and of course this is inefficient to protect the entire of Ukraine. In conclusion, I want to say that we are still waiting for decisions regarding the German Taurus and American ATACMS. Hopefully it will come soon. See you in my next videos, and Slava Ukraini!